Hi, Melissa Carolan, and here is my rough draft informative speech. I'm just gonna read it off. I do have a PowerPoint planned, but yeah, I haven't really gotten it all together yet, so here's just my speech. So fracking is a new method of extracting natural gas far below the Earth's surface. It is not seen in all areas in the world, but in the state of Michigan since 2008, over 30 wells have been completed using this method. It's growing rapidly, and not everyone understands the potential benefits and negative effects it has on the environment and economy. As this gets closer to your community, you may have to vote whether to support or deny it. Growing up in Michigan, I have some first-hand experiences living around fracking areas. I've taken multiple environmental science classes and feel passionate on hydraulic fracturing topic. This method of natural gas extraction is used all over Michigan and growing rapidly to other places in the world. So before you decide if you want this in your community, you should understand everything about it. Today, I'm going to describe what fracking is, the effects it has on the environment and your physical health, as well as the profits created from it. This way you can get a proper understanding before you decide to support it or not. Moving straight into the first point of discussion, what is fracking? Fracking is the use of water at high speeds to extract natural gas and oil. Author Melissa Dinchak describes this process as a technique used to enable the extraction of natural gas or oil from shale and other forms of tight rock. In other words, impermeable rock formations that lock in oil and gas that make fossil fuel production difficult. Large quantities of water, chemicals, and sand are blasted into these formations at pressures high enough to crack the rock, allowing the once trapped gas and oil to flow to the surface. The picture next to me is a better representation of what this looks like. As you can see, this is the rig, the well, Earth's crust. The water goes through the rig and pulls the natural resources from the gas-rich layer. This process is good at extracting crude oil and natural gas, but with that comes numerous air contaminants such as benzene, toluene, xylene, fine particulate matter, hydrogen sulfide, nitrogen oxides, and other organic compounds. You may ask, are these contaminants safe for people in the surrounding community? Is there a process oil companies use to keep people safe? Well, moving on from how fracking works, let us talk about the contaminants and how they affect people in the surrounding community. So we just talked about the contaminants such as the benzene, toluene, and other organic compounds. They can affect people's health. An article from the Yale Public Health Analysis says a review of chemicals released into the air and water by fracking has identified 55 that may cause cancer, including 20 that have shown to increase risk of leukemia and lymphoma. These air pollutants are seen by every hydraulic fracturing site, but one scientist did a study, Dr. Peter Rabinowitz, also from Yale, studying 180 random households with 492 people in Washington County, Pennsylvania, which is the heart of the Marcellus Shale, one of America's fracking hotspots. The researchers found that 39% of the people living less than 0.6 miles from the gas well reported upper respiratory problems like sinus infections and nosebleeds, compared to just 18% of people living more than 1.2 miles away. They formed the skin problems like rashes, and 13% living close to the wells reported irritation, compared to the only 3% living further away who said the same. So all the lines point to living closer to fracking rigs does affect your physical health. On another note, fracking also affects the environment in some ways because of the amount of water that is used for the process initially, as well as the disposal of water that is used. In fact, spills and leaks can occur through the fracking process, including during the transportation of concentrated chemical additives, the mixing and pumping of fractional fluids, and the storage, transportation, and disposal of used fracturing fluid and wastewater. So once the water is used for fracking, it cannot be recycled for any other use, so they need to dispose of it properly. This can be tricky because the high amounts of water that are needed for this process. An initiative they're trying to do is reusing water multiple times in the rigs in an attempt to waste less water, because it is known that the amount of water being used at the moment is depleting fresh water at a fast rate. Therefore, you can take away the not so good effects fracking has on the health of living people that are too close, as well as the initiative to make it better for the environment. Fracking does need to be done in order to support America and their need for oil and natural gas, but finding ways to better this process is what needs to be done in order to be realistic. Besides the environmental and physical effects, let's take a look at the business challenges fracking companies are facing. Fracking companies have been through some unfortunate circumstances. People assume that oil companies make a lot of money because they charge so much for natural resources, but 2 years ago, the U.S. fracking industry was trying to recover from the crash in the price of oil. Shale companies were promoting the idea that fracking was viable even at low prices, despite losing money when oil prices were high. That means when the oil companies were struggling, they still kept gas prices low and were looking for other opportunities to find more oil so they could supply the high demand. That is why fracking is so crucial to the economy now. It was a new way to extrude crude oil and natural resources at a low price. The initiative even created new jobs. Arthur McLean from New York Times says beyond the debt overhang, the fracking industry's fortunes directly impact oil prices, and the rest of the economy, while also being a significant job creator. Not only does fracking help gas prices stay down, but it helps create jobs. In the summer of 2008, average U.S. gasoline prices topped $4 a gallon. This did anger drivers, and it weighed heavily on the U.S. economy, but thanks to a pioneering technology known as hydraulic fracturing, America has safely unlocked vast amounts of previous inaccessible energy resources, driving down gas prices and saving average Americans $540 at the pump last year. Now you've been given all the information necessary to decide to support hydraulic fracturing in your community or not. There are potential risks to living around any sort of factory or mine. It is unlikely these effects will affect your community if taken the correct precautionary measures, and it keeps gas prices down. A solution to the problems of fracking would be go forward with the initiative of reusing water and creating boundaries of how close people can live to the rigs in order to prevent any potential health effects. We have been through what fracking is, the physical effects, environmental effects, and economic effects. At the end of the day, you'll support whichever side you seem acceptable.